Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. First, I would like to recognize that this is World Autism Awareness Day, and April is World Autism Awareness Month. I would love to welcome all of our friends at Autism Canada. Having spent decades working with families and children with autism, it's important for us to include you today. And we believe the tools and the platform we launched today will help with accessibility and education for all kids, including those with disabilities. So welcome. I would like to acknowledge all the countries taking part in our fireside chat. South Korea, the USA, Turkey, Belgium, France, and Canada, where I am today. I'm Robin Woods. I'm a social entrepreneur working in digital health and the CEO of the Uncomplicated Family Group. Our mission is to connect communities to inspire hope for the future, and our goal is to help 1 billion people. And I'm happy to report that we're right on track. Today we're here to announce Kids Digital Health. It started actually 3 years ago today, April 1, to the day, when a group of industry leaders became concerned about the information that children were exposed to online. We recognized that kids were spending a lot more time playing games, surfing the internet, and were being exposed to information that wasn't necessarily good for them. We saw an opportunity to use our clinical, technical, and scientific knowledge to create a standard. So let me begin by thanking everyone that have been a part of this journey, and many of them are here today to discuss their contributions. Kids Digital Health Portal provides curated games and tools demonstrated to be beneficial to kids' health and well-being. We support learning and health goals while kids have fun. Our original plan was to have an open house at our new headquarters here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. But the world has changed a lot over the last 3 weeks. And so we hustled to put this event together online. And we are grateful to be able to do this work. We see it as a privilege. With such exceptional partners that represent 3 continents and 6 countries. So thank you all for joining us. Kids Digital Health is an online portal, and it has serious games, we'll explain that are curated and meet specific guidelines that we'll discuss today. This began as the Panacea Gaming Platform Project, the PGP. The PGP was an international collaboration of software developers, researchers, industry leaders, and clinical experts. The PGP partners have completed important foundational work for the serious healthcare gaming industry. We have also designed 3 evidence-based serious games and 2 gamified apps. There was no standard or what made a healthy kids digital educational game, that became the foundation of our PGP work. And here, the Turco model was born. So my co-lead on the original project was Anil Turkmayali. You can see him there. A gifted Chief Innovation Officer in Turkey. As the Chief Innovation Officer, the CIO at the Uncomplicated Family Corporate Group, he's an IT professional, an entrepreneur with experience with various stages of business and product development, research and development, and commercialization in B2B and B2C environments. His expertise is grounded in healthcare and education industries, and he is an innovation enthusiast, and he will be moderating our panel today.
It's my pleasure to moderate the panel today. So as Robin mentioned, we will be breaking down the Turco model for kids games and explaining the science behind it. So Dr. Sarah McCune, first to speak, a clinician and scientist on Panacea Gaming Platform and Dino Island. And we are going to use a lot of terms throughout this fireside chat. One of the most used ones will be serious games. As such, it's important to introduce Dr. Sarah McCune, a scientist and clinician. So Dr. Sarah McCune is a registered psychologist and assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at the University of Victoria, with expertise in pediatric neuropsychology. Dr. McCune is also a member of Panacea Gaming Platform Project, and her professional expertise includes neuropsychological educational assessment, development evaluation of educational cognitive interventions, and program planning for children with neurodevelopmental disorders. And Dr. McCune joins us from Canada. So let's begin with what's a serious game?
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. So with respect to a serious game, a serious game is a game that's designed for therapeutic, educational, or treatment purposes as opposed to purely entertainment purposes. And we know that serious games have significant potential if they're designed well to help with educational and treatment outcomes, because it's possible to capitalize on some of the unique and special properties of games to provide a medium that's both accessible and engaging. So with appropriate science backing them, we know that serious games can be programmed to deliver content or activities that would be otherwise required to be delivered by an expert. So this can make them also more affordable and feasible for many individuals who might not otherwise have access to delivered face-to-face interventions. So really, serious games can open up a whole range of treatment opportunities.
Well, thank you, Sarah. And we referenced the Troika model, and your expertise is the R for research. What do we know about the brain and learning? And could you tell us, please, about your research? And the first game created was called Dino Island.
Yeah, absolutely. So with respect to the Turka model and the R, research in Turka model, one of the important things to consider is that recently there has been a real resurgence in games that claim to change or improve the brain. And because of this, due diligence is required. Many games lack sufficient scientific validation with respect to the claims that they're making. And in part, this relates to a lack of clear standards on what type of research is sufficient to develop a serious game and then to establish that game as effective. So, from my perspective, it's important that a serious game has been developed with clearly identified and specific educational or cognitive targets. So, for example, rather than saying that a serious game improves the brain, we, might want to say more specifically that it helps with reading or memory or attention, etc. And we also want to make sure that the serious game has strong scientific principles in terms of the remediation or educational approaches that are being built into the game. So, this allows us then to use appropriate research tools and methodologies to test the claims and warrants that are being made about that game.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, so with respect to the brain and serious games, my serious game looks specifically at attention and executive functions. And we know that these are cognitive abilities that are crucial for learning and for life success. So attention refers to a set of brain-related abilities that include aspects such as focusing and resisting distractions, being able to sustain concentration, being able to shift attention between one activity and another. Executive function refers to higher order brain abilities that are important for regulating thinking, emotions, and behavior in order to help us set and achieve goals. And we know that these abilities are crucial for success in a range of different life activities. So for success in school, for example, these abilities allow us to plan our work, to organize, to regulate thinking, to acquire new academic skills. They also are critical for functions in day-to-day life, such as regulating behaviors and emotions, engaging in self-care, forming and establishing friendships, being productive and independent. So we know that most children who have neurodevelopmental concerns or neurodevelopmental disabilities, whether these be resulting from a neurodevelopmental disorder such as autism spectrum disorder or attention deficit disorder, or whether they be resulting from other brain-related concerns such as a brain injury or neurological disease, these children almost universally have challenges with attention and executive function. And we know that if these difficulties aren't remediated early on, this can lead to negative life trajectories and secondary disabilities. So secondary disabilities refer to those difficulties that stem from a primary brain-related difficulty, such as an attention or executive function problem, and relate to concerns such as mental health difficulties, school underachievement, social struggles, lack of independence, and in general having lower quality of life. So my research specifically is focused on improving attention and executive functions in children with neurodevelopmental disabilities. And my research has been funded extensively and supported for a long period of time by Kids Brain Health Network, which is a part of the National Centers of Excellence program in Canada. And KBHN, or Kids Brain Health Network, is focused on improving early identification and treatment options for children with neurodevelopmental disabilities. So our research lab at the University of Victoria has developed a serious game called Dino Island. And Dino Island uses a validated neuroscientific approach to remediating cognitive difficulties in attention and executive functions. We use a serious game format, and this has allowed us to program in important rehab components that capitalize on the brain's ability to reorganize itself and to reorganize brain systems and improve function. And this is called neuroplasticity. So Dino Island is delivered via a tablet supported by an adult in the child's circle of care. It consists of 5 mini cognitive games that rehabilitate different aspects of attention and executive function in an engaging and game-like format. The activities are arranged to be hierarchical, so they progress from easy to more difficult. The game's adaptive, so it adjusts itself to the individual's performance. Games are also salient and engaging, and they allow sufficient repetition of the ability that's being rehabilitated. And we know that these are all crucial components for driving neuroplasticity and changes in the brain. So children typically play the game with the support of an adult in the circle of care. The game can be played at home or in school or community settings. And we are currently undergoing clinical trials to validate Dino Island. But to date, the work that we've done so far suggests that we are seeing positive changes in attention, executive function, academics, and also positive social and behavioral outcomes in children with both neurodevelopmental disabilities and typically developing children who have played the Dino Island game.
Thanks, Sarah. And we now have Dr. Robin de Kroon joining us from Belgium. And Dr. Robin de Kroon is a postdoctoral researcher at the Human Computer Institute Research Group of KU Leuven. Dr. de Kroon is also a member of the Panacea Gaming Project. And his professional and academic expertise and experience is focused on motivational design and system techniques, while his research interests lie in user experience and visual analytics. Dr. de Kroon is involved in several European and Flemish projects, such as ITA PHE and Horizon 2020 Big Data Grapes, just to name a few. And Dr. de Kroon, your expertise is the E in Turka for engagement. Let's begin there. Why is engagement important in healthcare?
Okay, hi everybody, and thank you very much for having me. It was great to be part of this great project, and happy to be also part of the end result of it. To answer your question, Dr. McCune already touched the subject of serious games, and of course Dino Island is one of the few good examples, but usually we see that serious games and games based on research are not always fun. And based on experience, but also from the literature, we know that serious games and other digital healthcare interventions lag in domains that affect quality, such as graphics, music, and storytelling. And moreover, researchers are simply not game designers. So we therefore see in many existing healthcare interventions that these interventions have low adherence. People and kids just don't like to use them. They are boring. But of course, we want our kids to play these serious games or use these gamified apps. So they need to be motivating and engaging to use. And actually, a lot of serious games, gamified applications, you have a lot of repetitive tasks. For example, in the neuropsychological testing, ensuring the full attention of a participant is really important. So increased engagement might even result in more reliable results. And to give a personal example, in collaboration with BeWell Innovations, we researched how we could motivate pain patients to adhere to the telemonitoring therapy. And as a case study, we worked with practice patients. Practice patients are patients with a fallen chest or an outward chest. And I will save you all the details, but it's a very painful operation. Just to say one thing, they break all the ribs, so you have a lot of healing process. And the first week, the patients are still in the hospital, so everything is fine. They get a lot of painkillers, but then they can go home and they are asked to use a lot of telemonitoring devices for their therapy. And of course, we want them to keep on doing this for 10 to 16 weeks, and they need to do this in an accurate way. So we also wanted our applications to be more engaging. And we were really lucky that BWell's application was already accepted hospital-wide in all Belgium. So we had a unique opportunity to test this, and we researched different designs to see how we could personalize these gamification and motivational design techniques towards the users. So to conclude my answer, by offering an interactive and immersive and foremost an engaging experience, serious games and gamified applications can be considered to be more effective than sometimes even clinical tests, but definitely more than just standard applications.
Thank you. And could you please explain what gamification is and how it assists with engagement? And is it healthy?
Yes. Well, the most widely used formal definition of gamification is simply the use of game design elements in non-game context. And there's a definition by Dieterding. And it's a very popular term, but it's often wrongly used. And gamification is actually about harnessing the motivational affordances of gameful experiences to influence psychological outcomes and maybe even influence behavioral outcomes. But effective gamification is a combination of game design, but also motivational psychology and user experience. So only if it's implemented well, then gamification can help to increase the motivation of users' trajectories. While we work together in the Panacea Gaming Platform project, researchers have shown that gamification is not a panacea. So different user groups and personality types necessitate different gamification techniques. For example, you might be very competitive and you might like a leaderboard where you're always up high, but when I see that I'm at the bottom of a leaderboard, I might be demotivated because I can never get this high, so I might even stop using the application. So that's definitely something that we don't want. And as a second example, for example, points or badges are a great tool for communicating progress and acknowledging effort, but neither points nor badges in any way replace a game. For example, deciding to run 2 kilometers today rather than 1, or drink only 1 liter of Coke instead of 4 liters, are just choices of quantity. Deciding which Pokemon to evolve, that's a meaningful choice. So people are more likely to adhere to all these autonomous and internalized behaviors when they can self-identify or connect with the goals that are meaningful for them.
Well, thanks, Dr. Robin de Groen. And from Belgium, we head to South Korea, and welcome Koinpil KP Ro. So Koinpil Ro is the Chief Technology Officer at Vurisoft Incorporation, a Korean serious gaming, mobile, and web application company specializing in virtual reality and artificial intelligence. His professional and academic expertise includes software development, specifically as it pertains to the healthcare industry, and wearable technology and R&D management. And KP will talk to us about the T in Turka, technology and data. Let's begin with discussing the difference between privacy and security in the kids gaming context.
Hello everybody. Thank you for having me. In general definition, security is that about how to protect data, and so it includes confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. We use the various technology. It's like the encryption, firewall, and others. Others are used in order to prevent data compromise from the malicious cyber attack or vulnerability of the network. Privacy a little bit different. Privacy is about how to use our data collected and stored. And privacy is the appropriate use of the user information, just like the security policy or principle for health information by each country and organization. This is the patient rights to safeguard their information to use in right way. And generally, medical application is deal with treatment data. It's a lot of information, sensitive information. And we need the privacy and security issues. But kids gaming data is not include sensitive information, actually. We collect demographic data and treatment data is with the sensitive information in a later session is totally separate. Also, we generate the decision data from the game result, and also and the scope of security and privacies, demographic, and generate decision after training. It's not online gaming. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And how should data be captured and stored? And specifically when it comes to kids gaming?
Yes, yeah. I would like to explain about medical software, especially online and VR games for the kids. And we need the data to keep the good treatment service. But the problem is that it's how to collect, how to store them in the safe manner. This is a very difficult job right now in terms of technology and cost. The better way is to achieve the goal is that we don't collect sensitive information, sensitive data from the kids' game. So we just collect data, time-based activity and performance-related data, just like online game, rather than treatment, rather than the medical software. And so we collect the sensitive information in different way, and also is a storage and generated analyzed data. The game should be the serious game should be designed in an active way in accordance with the health purpose. The most activity-related data is related accuracy, performance, and we can give the assessment result of the treatment by analyzing the collected game data after serious game. For example, we can explain our situation the Ubisoft is developed a VR and online game for kids and elderly. We don't collect information from the online game, just we collect the game data. We don't have the private security issues for now. After the game treatment we collect data, we give to therapist the therapist to write for the collected sensitive information. And because we don't store it, we don't handle the sensitive information, it's very safe and free. It's just that we have the game information, game data, and then the therapist and hospital they have the sensitive information. It's totally separate, and because of that the online game, and this is a very good things for the kids treatment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, KP. And integral parts of the serious games and standardization of healthy digital games is our host for today's event, Robin Woods. Robin Woods is a Canadian digital health and service delivery leader and driving accessible personalized solutions for people around the world. And as was mentioned earlier, she is the CEO and founder of the Uncomplicated Family Corporate Group and the social entrepreneur behind the client-centered content and service continuity offerings of Teleroo World, Kids Digital Health Portal, and Kids Uncomplicated. Robin joins us from Canada, and welcome back, Robin.
Hello.
And finishing off with the TORCA model, we are left with C and A, and let's begin with C for clinical. Why is that important when creating serious games for kids?
When we're talking about clinical aspects, when we're developing serious games with the goal of making a meaningful impact, we need to understand the special populations or the special characteristics of each population with reference to what we know about child development. So for example, do the skills proceed in order? So there's simpler tasks before more difficult tasks. Are they age appropriate? And also, for example, with children with autism spectrum disorder, they typically have challenges with perspective taking. So perhaps we want to consider building games where the child is in the first person actor in the game. We also need to be careful, as Sarah said, about our warrants and claims. So when we're talking about, if we say this game is good to increase memory, are we clear on exactly what we mean, what memory is? So the idea is to be as consistent as possible with the terms we're using. That's in alignment with best practice, what's known in the literature and in clinical practice. And I think most importantly, we want to make sure that we're not doing harm. So, for example, not causing seizures in kids. Or if you're working with a special population, for example, an individual with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we want to make sure those engagement techniques are perhaps not violent games, things that exploding and might trigger some type of trauma. And I think, oh, I know. Also wanted to consider concepts such as near and far transfer. So if the game is helpful, for example, to improve memory, do we also see that those skills are now generalizing near transfer to a game that's similar? But most importantly, are these increases in memory transferring to the real world or far transfer? So those are some examples of functional impact and how we look at the C in the Turk model.
And moving to A for accessibility, and why is that important?
Well, we need to make sure, I mean, we can build the best games in the world that have huge impacts for people, but if they're not accessible, then they're not going to be that helpful, right? So considering, for example, when we're building games that we build them on, that they're available on a number of different types of platforms, so iOS and Android. And also considering variables like price. If we're serving our global community, we want to make sure that it's affordable for the broadest impact for the population. So that's some examples of accessibility.
Perfect. And now we are opening the Turka model up and offering it to the families globally. And could you tell us about the Kids Digital Health Portal and how the scoring system will work?
Sure. So we've developed a scoring system or a methodology that allows people to access the quality of the games and apps in the market and to be able to assess them. So the model works in a semi-automated way, and this was the work of the Panacea Gaming Platform partners. And so part of the assessment is done automatically by software tools. So kind of like a system that you would see when in the market now around scoring accommodations or restaurants or different activities. People are familiar with that. So it's our tele-owl system, and we will rate these games according to our simplified Turka model. And the version will be available coming soon. And so that it will really help software developers to be able to develop with these best practice standards in mind. And then also really for families to be able to choose the best apps for their kids. So it will be available on the platform. So stay tuned, it's coming.
Thank you very much. And we are excited to introduce one of our partners, Gerald Youngblood from Tanki. And Gerald Youngblood is the co-founder and CEO of Tanki, an award-winning media company dedicated to the future of kids' digital entertainment. His work has led to the development of an engaging entertainment platform for gaming content that maintains the fun and eliminates questionable content for kids. Mr. Youngblood is additionally a mentor in residence at the University of Texas at Austin Longhorn Startup Lab, and he's joining us from United States of America. And Gerald, can you tell us about the Tanki platform and the processes in place to keep it safe for your family-friendly users?
Absolutely, and thank you again for allowing us to be part of this. It's been an amazing experience. And with Tanki, it was really born out of something that I realized in my own home. So as a dad of a 10-year-old, I realized that my son was, in addition to spending time gaming, also he and his friends were watching a lot of game-related content. And I noticed that the way that kids interact with media has changed quite a bit over the last few years, moving from a focus on the TV and traditional TV networks to digital streaming platforms. And those digital streaming platforms that they frequent, many times were not built for them. And so you have this situation where millions of people, and as of 2018, about 850 million people watch gaming video content. So more than Netflix, Hulu, ESPN, and HBO combined, with that number growing really rapidly. However, they were watching this content in places, like I said, that weren't really built for them, where the family-friendly content and everything else on the internet were commingled, which led to really difficult situations for parents and for kids. And we thought that there needed to be a family-friendly place where kids could watch the content that they wanted to see, but not have to worry about all the other potential pitfalls that were out there, which is why we built Tanki, so that we could bring kids family-friendly content, which we curate, and we also develop original content there, where everything is reviewed by a real human being to make sure that not only is it safe, but that it's high quality content, and that parents can rest assured knowing that kids are seeing things that are appropriate. And we were really happy to work with Kids Uncomplicated, actually, on a recent video about germ busting during the current pandemic. So that in addition to entertaining videos, there's also content that will help them beyond the entertainment elements.
And how do serious games differ from regular video games in reference to the Turka model? Why is it important to have a safety standard for kids games?
Yeah, I mean, I think gaming is an important ecosystem, and it's as Dr. DeCroon mentioned before, engagement is really, really critical. But I think there's an opportunity to leverage that engagement to actually help with both educational and behavioral development for kids. And so that's really where serious games is a huge advantage, because beyond the entertainment elements, you get to build really healthy habits and developmental progression into that engaging environment. So I think it's really important. And I think with accessibility, it's important that it's available in places where kids live, like mobile devices and other platforms.
Yeah, and privacy and content safety. How has the international environment changed or evolved, like keeping kids safe online?
Fortunately, governments around the world have really taken a more stringent approach to protecting kids' privacy online. So there have been legislation like the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act in the US, and GDPR in Europe, and many other standards that are starting to regulate the type of information that you can collect, store, and the content that is being produced for kids. And so, we're at a great time to be building right now where we can include those regulations and even other things that we think are even healthier for kids in the technology that we're building today, as opposed to things built previously that did not have those standards in mind.
Well, thank you, Gerald.
Thank you.
And this process was truly international, and we are thrilled to have Zeynep Sarılar and Philippe Letellier from ITA joining us from France and Turkey. And none of this would have not been possible without ITA. Beginning with Zeynep Sarılar, the chairwoman of ITA, with an academic background in electrical and electronics engineering. Ms. Sarılar has worked for a variety of global companies as a software engineer and system design consultant. And Mrs. Sarılar joins us from Turkey. And what is ITA, and why is it important to have international collaboration?
Hi, thank you. Thank you for organizing this wonderful panel, first of all. Yeah, I mean, international ITA is a software, that has been association for multiple countries, and that is focusing on the software innovation. ITA is under EURECA, which has 45 countries, starting, as you see, the Canada, South Korea, Pan-European organization. And that is definitely designed to be managed by the industry. So we have a board that has been established by Philips, Ericsson, and that kind of multinational companies. And our focus is to create a collaborative environment for large industry, for SME, research institutes coming together to focus on one specific problem and to create an innovative and market-related solution. As we see in your project, we are very much proud of, related with your collaboration, as you see, from different countries, from different continents, and you're focused on one specific problem and develop a wonderful platform for the public indeed. And if you're, I mean, your second question related with the international collaboration, why it is important, it is really important to get the different knowledge bases and to access to the different cultures and to create one global solution working all together. The problems at this moment are so complicated. So you need to have diversity of information, and you need to have multiple countries, multiple partners coming from different countries, building up a complete solution with different point of views and focus together and just create one global solution as you did in your environment. It is good to access to the market, and also it is good to access to the information wherever you need it.
Thank you very much. And staying with ITA, Philippe Letellier is Vice Chairman, a Eureka Cluster program that enables global large industry, SME startups, academia, and customer organizations to collaborate on funded projects that turn innovative ideas into new businesses, jobs, economic growth, and societal benefits. And his professional expertise involves software development for interactive image systems and R&D management. And Mr. Letellier joins us from France. And we would like to ask, why are international R&D incentives important?
First of all, I want to say how I am pleased to participate to the launch of this Kids Digital Health Portal. I had the pleasure to follow the project during its duration. And I was always impressed by all the technology and the human science that has been put together to solve the challenge. So it's a great added value. And more than that, they deliver. This project has delivered impact on society. The result is impressive for the interest of the kids, but also for the elder. And very soon, I hope there will be also impact at the business level in such a way that from all this know-how, they can generate good business. So to be back to your question, the beauty of Europe is diversity. It's very clear. You take a French, you take a German, you take a Swedish, all of that has some common root, but it's totally different. The way of thinking is totally different. And when you strengthen that with some Canadian vision, you strengthen that with Korean vision, it's another level of diversity and value. And it is exactly what you have been successful with your project. And where you see that, we see that on the creativity, and I will reuse some point from Zeynep, but it's very clear that when you have this diversity, the creativity is strengthened. You have the ability to test many things in parallel and gathering different kind of know-how. And in this team, the level of know-how was impressive all along the project. It's also a way to respond to diversity, the cultural diversity, and to have some worldwide response in the market. And I think that this portal opens the door that many tools can be accessible because they are on the same place, and they have a measurement of quality, which is one of the great success of this project, to have clearly defined such scoring and tools to help the people in this large number of solutions to find the good one for them. So I am very excited by this project and by this launch of Kids Digital Health Portal, and I'm sure that you will have a big success. Thank you very much for all your work and your success.
Thank you very much. And we have been collecting questions throughout this panel. The first question is, how much screen time is too much screen time?
Sarah, you're yeah.
I can chime in on that one. So it's a really interesting question, and one that is being discussed a lot in the research literature. How much is too much? The American Academy of Pediatrics has posted some guidelines to say that children from about age 2 on shouldn't be spending probably more than 2 hours per day on screen use. However, what the data is suggesting to us is that children on average are using screens 7 hours per day. And this is even more in certain special needs groups. So we know that digital media are being integrated into many diverse aspects of family life, and increasingly so. Newer research is actually telling us that perhaps rather than considering quantity, we should be considering quality of screen time. You know, and in fact, there is a distinction that's being made between passive screen time and active screen time, with active screen time potentially being more beneficial. So active screen time would refer to activities engaging with screens that are either cognitively or physically engaging. So research is suggesting that this type of screen engagement actually can be beneficial in terms of enhancing skills and abilities. So some newer recommendations are suggesting that we need to be focusing on screen context. So where, when, and how digital media are being accessed. Also screen content, so what's being watched or used, and then connections. So whether and how relationships are being either facilitated or perhaps impeded by screen use. And that we need to be providing parents with guidelines for how to choose appropriate screen time options. So call is for regulatory bodies, science, and industry to work together to ensure that we actually have evidence-based evaluation of products that are being marketed as educational or as treatment approaches, so that we can then guide parents in making informed decisions about their children's screen use. And this is one reason why the Turka model is so important and so pressing at this time.
Right, the idea being to focus on quality in addition to quantity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. And another question is, how with the kids games work, and how will you know which games will work for your child?
Maybe I can answer this question. Well, I think this is a perfect example of why we can use the Turka model, why it's such an added value. Because if you would use the Turka model to answer your question, yeah, well, first the T, it needs to be technically sound. Like KXP explained, we need to make sure that the data is safe, that it's secure, that only the right people can access data that we gather through these digital games that we want to use for children. So it needs to be technically okay. Then the engaging part, yeah, I will not repeat myself, but yes, of course, it needs to be motivating. People need to want to play the game. If they don't want to use it and it's not engaging, then of course it will not work. The R from research, Dr. McCune already went into this as well, but these games also need to be based on research. It's not just a game designer that makes a nice looking game and then we don't have any proof that it will work for them. So it's very important that there is enough research rationality behind it. The C, clinically validated. So it needs to be tested in a clinical way. It needs to be validated so that we can actually prove the question, this is the goal of the serious game, what are we trying to achieve, that we have actual clinical testing behind it to prove this point. And then finally, the A of the Turka, the accessibility. Yeah, very simple. If they cannot play it, it will not work. So it needs to be accessible for them before it can work. And all of this can be scored as well with the teleall system, scoring system, like Robin already mentioned. So if they score high on all these different aspects, I think we can safely say that we do have some answer to know that these games, these specific games, will work for children in this specific context.
Oh, thank you very much. And another question is, what's the feature for Kids Digital Health Portal? And how often will new games be added?
Well, we're getting very good traction from the industry, so of course we expect it to grow. And new games will be available every month, if not sooner. So, you know, just at the beginning stages here, but please keep checking the website for updates.
Thank you. And another question, I think that's the final one. What is being done with the data?
I think that's a Gerald question. Is it, or Sarah, maybe?
Well, I can respond to say that on the Kids DigiHealth portal, we are not gathering data from people. However, there may be some opportunities to sign up for research studies that are ongoing related to serious games. One example being the Dino Island Research Program. However, it's important to know that unless you've formally signed up to participate in a study and you've given your full consent, we would not be gathering any data from you. If you do sign up for a study, we have full university and Tri-Council ethics approvals, and we'll be following all ethical and privacy guidelines for participating in research.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all our panelists today, Dr. Sarah McCune, Dr. Robin de Kroon, Kempil Roh, and Gerald Youngblood, Philippe Letelier, Zeynep Sarılar, and Robin Woods.
Thanks, Anil, and thanks again to all our panelists today. We are so excited at the Uncomplicated Family to be able to launch Kids Digital Health. And with so many families at home right now, many families with special needs kids, we're so grateful that we can take the research and the studies and offer that knowledge to the world. I would like to introduce Rudy Vandenbroek, our Chief Operating Officer at the Uncomplicated Family Group. He's an accomplished advisor in the digital healthcare field. Rudy.
Thank you, Robin. I was very impressed today with the quality of information shared on the topic. And I know that this is very important to parents because I'm a parent as well. And at this time with the pandemic, we need quality content at our home to help with our family lives and to help our children advance as much as they can while school is in a different format. As we discussed, the Uncomplicated Family's mission is to improve 1 billion lives. And it was this that led us to take the science behind the Panacea Gaming project and to create the Kids Digital Health portal. In order to launch today, we've been working diligently to curate healthy kids games that families, caregivers, and teachers can feel comfortable sharing. Given the current situation and to make services as accessible as possible, we have created a special launch package. We are offering subscriptions for just 99 cents for the first month and less than $5 per month after that. In the near future, we'll also be launching clinicians' recommendations for each of the games on our portal so that parents can get even further information about which particular games might be best for their child. It was so important to us that this was an accessible and affordable platform, which is why we are making that offer today. If you want better content for your children's minds, please go to kidsdigitalhealth.com and sign up today. Back to you, Robin.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so our healthcare solutions are being used around the globe. And it is only through the work and the support of our international partners and through the support of our advisors and funders like the National Research Council of Canada IRAP program, Global Affairs Canada and the Trade Commissioner Service, and the Government of Canada. I'd like to specifically mention MP Ing. Thank you for supporting the work and making these solutions available to our broader global community. And so to pull this all together, we're the Uncomplicated Family. We are launching Kids Digital Health to keep our kids safe. We feel this is such important work that we wanted to keep the conversation going. So we've decided to launch a new series. So we are looking to partner. This is a call to action, people. Give us a call. We're looking to partner with other innovators and community leaders so we can address the important question that's relevant to everybody right now. How will you serve digitally? So our next one will be focusing on various industries over time that, of course, due to the current climate, are moving online. So our first event is planned for April 28th. We will be discussing Healthcare 4.0. It's available now. So please join us. And thank you to everyone that took part in today's fireside chat. If you have any questions or you would like to collaborate, we welcome your ideas and thoughts. Our contact information will follow this panel, along with information sheets on our discussion. And so from my connected community to yours, stay healthy and stay safe.